All right. This is the quadratic formula, as we're very familiar with. Okay. Now, the quadratic formula gives us the roots, the solutions, the zeros, and the x-intercepts, right? Oh, they go by different names, but that's what it gives us, okay? So I don't know if you noticed or not, but I accidentally left this on the board. Okay, so the entire quadratic formula is going to give you the roots and the solutions, but today we're going to talk about the inside of the radical sign. This b squared minus 4a expression is called the discriminant. Okay. So does the discriminant alone give us the roots? No. The discriminant does not give the roots. Okay. How is a discriminant related to the quadratic formula? Well, we just said it's inside the radical sign, right? It's the expression inside the radical sign. Who is at my door? I'm recording our lesson for today. It's kind of an emergency.
So all of the bathrooms are locked except for the one in the oxygen, and I gotta pee like really bad.
Did you say you were gonna find a way to unlock?
But I came back
But did
tell
she
you.
come back to tell me that the bathrooms here were unlocked, that they were locked?
because I had enough time to go down there.
How can I get them unlocked if she hasn't told me that they were locked?
And I'm still in my time limit, so.
I know. Go to the bathroom.
Okay, thank you.
You're missing the new material though, so hurry up. No, it's not fine. Taver. Jeremiah, yeah, go to the bathroom. All right. No, the discriminant does not give the roots inside the radical sign. Okay, so it's actually going to give us two pieces of information. It's going to tell us the number of roots or the number of zeros, and it's also going to tell us what type of zeros we're getting, whether they're rational or irrational. So if the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac, right? It's the b squared minus 4ac, the stuff inside of the radical sign. If your discriminant is greater than 0, you're going to get two roots, a positive one, a negative one. They can both be positive. You're on your AirPods in class. Yes. Yes. Let me see. How did you magically get rid of them while I was still looking at you? Okay, fine, I take it back. Are you done with your test?
Oh no, I got two questions.
So why are you lounging in your desk? You are lounging. Hurry up. I distract. All right, so picture this. Picture this. If the inside is positive, we can take the square root of a positive number. Clear? So this will be some number plus another number divided by a number. So we're going to get an answer. And then the other one is going to be some number subtracting whatever you get from here divided by that number. So that's how we end up with two answers. One because we're adding whatever we get from here, and the other one because we're subtracting. All right, so yes, because this is going to be plus that number. That's one answer. And then when we do minus that number, it'll change it. All right, so that's why when b squared minus 4ac is positive, we get two roots. Here's the kicker though. If the discriminant is a perfect square, once you take the square root of a perfect square, what's the square root of 25? Square root of 36. We lose the radical sign. So then there is no more radical sign. Dwight, you need to focus on the lesson, not on that screen. Dwight, you know, can you move to the front? Yes. And this is my last interruption. After this, anybody that interrupts is going to get kicked out. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to do. Figure it out where the front is. Perfect square is going to be a rational number because there's not going to be a radical sign, right? Once we take the square root of that perfect number, the radical sign is going to go away. So our number is automatically going to be rational. But if the discriminant is not a perfect square, then we're going to be left with that square root of 11, square root of 37, right? So the number is going to be technically irrational. Now, if the discriminant is positive, you are always going to get two roots. And it's just that if it's a perfect square, the roots are going to be rational numbers. And if it's not a perfect square, the roots are going to be irrational numbers.
Pardon the interruption, Dr. P and staff, please dismiss all participants for the Black History Program. Please dismiss all participants for the Black History Program at this time.
Okay. All right, so we have b squared minus 4ac. What happens when it's...
Please refer to the email for the participants. Thank you.
All right, so here it goes. If this whole thing is 0, right? It's going to be negative b plus 0. What do we get? Negative b plus 0. Right? And when we do negative b minus 0, what are we going to get? Negative, guys. Negative b plus 0 is equal to what? It's not b. Get off your phone. What's negative b minus 0? It is not b. So when the discriminant is 0, the numerator is going to stay the same. And if the numerator stays the same, that's why we're only going to end up with one root. If it's 1, 1 is greater than 0, which means you're going to end up with two roots.
Yes.
All right, so then there we go. Yes, that's what rational numbers are, fractions. A decimal is a fraction. Anything else? You sure, Caden? Positive? McMichael?
I have a question.
All right, just keep going.
Just go.
No, feel free. The only time you get a choice is over here. Over here is going to end up being rational. If the discriminant is less than 0, there's going to be no roots because we can't take this, the square root of a negative number. All right. right? We can't take the square root of a negative number. My bad. Okay. So that's why if the discriminant is negative, then there are no roots. That's when we don't touch the x-axis. Clear? Remember that? The parabola doesn't drop low enough to intersect or touch the x-axis. All right, so when you look at this problem, x squared plus 3x minus 4, the first thing you want to make sure is that it equals 0 because you have to have all terms on the left. And then identify your ABC. Then we calculate our b squared minus 4ac. Boys, stop singing. I don't care who it was. I didn't say your name. I said, boys, stop singing. All right. I'm waiting on an answer. Okay. All right, so the value of the discriminant is 25. Now, how many roots does that give us? 25 is not the root. Clear? The fact that the discriminant is greater than 0 tells us that we have 2 roots. Right? It's greater than 0, so we have 2 roots. Now, are these roots going to be rational numbers or irrational numbers? Rational, because 25 is a perfect square. So it's going to be 2 roots that are rational. All right, this one, 2x squared plus 4x plus 1 equals 0. Please make sure that you have all terms on the left. And your A is 2, 4, 1. Go ahead and calculate your discriminant. Do we all agree? All right, so based upon the value of the discriminant, are you going to get 2 roots, 1 root, or 0 roots? 2 roots? All right, yes, we're going to get 2 roots because it's greater than 0, right? A is a number greater than 0? I'm teaching and I'm recording, so can you all move, please? Okay, so that's how we know that we're going to end up with 2 roots. Clear? Now, are they going to be rational or irrational roots? Well, that depends. Is your discriminant a perfect square or not a perfect square? Your discriminant is 8. Is it a perfect square?
No.
It's not a perfect square, so these are going to be I gave you what?
I gave you 2 papers.
Are you done? Okay. I don't need it right now. Come on. All right, so in this example, it's an example where you have 5x squared minus 3. And remember, your A is always going to be in front of a variable squared. Your B is always going to be in front of a single variable. And your C is always going to be the constant, the one that has no variable. All right, so with that review, which one is A? Which one is B? Once again, you sure? And what is C? There we go. So please be careful because these are the types of questions that I would use on a test to make sure that you really knew your ABCs, okay? So if I asked you for the roots, if I say, so what are the roots? You would go to Desmos, you would graph the equation, don't put the equals 0, and then you would read both x-intercepts, clear? And write them down. But I'm not asking you for the roots. I'm asking you, how many do you have? But you could also do it in Desmos. Because if you graph it and it crosses the x-axis twice, then that means that you have 2 roots, right? But if I ask you, is it rational or irrational? You could probably also do it in Desmos, but what if I don't give you the function? What if I give you the discriminant? Then you have to make sure that you understand this, okay? All right, so this will be 0 squared minus 4, 5, negative 3. 60. So if I say your discriminant is 60, how many solutions do you have and what type are they? It's going to be 2 of them, and are they rational or irrational? When your discriminant is greater than 0, you have how many roots? When your discriminant is equal to 0, you have, and when the discriminant is less than 0, you have. All right, it's going to be rational or irrational. Now with this one right here, 3x squared minus 10x. Look at it very carefully, and what is your A? What is your B? Negative 10. And what is your C? Okay. You calculate the discriminant. Okay. All right, so your discriminant is 100. That tells you that you have how many roots? And are they rational or irrational? Rational, because that's a perfect square. Clear? All right, with this one, once again, it equals 0, so we're good. Your ABCs, let me know if you disagree. Go ahead and start calculating your discriminant. All right, using your calculator. Do me a favor, move to the front. So what is it? Negative 351, right? So now, based on the value of your discriminant, how many roots do you have?
0.
Exactly, no roots. All right, the last one says 4x squared minus 5x equals 11. So the good thing about this example is a student might forget that the equation has to equal 0. This one does not. If you don't move that 11, you might erroneously say that A is 4, B is negative 5, and that C is positive 11. But it's going to be negative because we need to move it to the other side by subtracting 11 from both sides. So you're going to get 4x squared minus 5x minus 11 equals 0. Okay. So with that said, A is 4, negative 5, and this is negative 11. Student, I said move to the front. You want to step outside? All right, very carefully. Go ahead and calculate the value of your discriminant. 1. Oh. All right, so based upon your discriminant, that's how many roots? 2. Are they rational, irrational? There we go. Pretty simple, right? You just have to remember the basic rules, and then it's very easy to tell whether you're rational or irrational. All right, for today's work, what I want is this, not using the quadratic formula, but using Desmos.
Wait, so if I'm gonna use this most, my computer
X equals, I want us to go to Desmos, and I want us to graph the function. Right? So in this one, oh, I had it there and I erased it. Here we go. Okay, can I finish the lesson, or do you want me to say once again, sit in the front? Then go sit over there where you were sitting, where you were calmly charging your Chromebook before you trapeze across the classroom to the back, move the seat that nobody's supposed to be using, just so that you could sit where you wanted to sit. Shall I continue? Sure, because I'm recording it and you want me to continue this. Are you sure? Because you just said you wanted me to continue. Do not continue. Can you move over there? All right, so then pay attention, because third period had a little problem at the end because they weren't paying attention to what I wanted. So I want you to take the equation, don't put the equal sign. Do you see how it just says 4x squared minus 5x minus 11? Yes? And then find, see? You click on it and it gives you both x intercepts. And then you write them down. So what's the first number that we're going to write down? And what's the other number we're going to write down? There you go. Notice that both of these are x values, so that's why I'm using the curly brackets. No, but that's okay. All right?
Wait.
Do what again? The box?
Yeah. No, so Desmos.
What about the Desmos?
Oh, okay.
Hey, I don't know how to write them brackets. You mean like you just write like, I just write it like 0. Just me, I don't know how to draw. I want to put like a C.
Are there any other questions? All right, so can you please find me the roots for all the problems starting with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 we already did together, okay?
So all of it?
Oh, yes.